Well, what's going on, Boom? What's up, Daniel? Hey, James. How you guys doing? You guys hear me all right? Well, welcome, Jackie boy. Okay. Well, other Q&A. Yeah. Go ahead, start asking away. Hope you guys' days are going well. Me Boom, I uploaded 2 videos talking about my trip, so I would say my trip went very, very well. And I'm already looking forward to the next 2 that'll happen at the end of August and in the middle of September. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was wonderful. It ended up being a little bit more expensive than I was expecting, but it was totally worth it. Can't put a price. Oh, cool shirt. Oh, thanks. This is my brother got this for me for my birthday last year, so you can thank him. The Boys ending. What do I think so far? I didn't really care much. I'll be honest. I actually didn't watch a lot of it. After season 3, I was just like, I wasn't really feeling season 4. I know how it, I guess, ended. Everyone being captured, but I'm like, I kind of checked off. It's just, I'm just not that interested in it anymore. So I don't know. Maybe I'll watch like the last episode of the next season, but like I got no real plans on watching it. I think I saw like a little bit of the first episode, and I just wasn't feeling it. So I don't really know what happened over the course of season 4. Would you make a horror Mortal Kombat game? Wait, would you make a horror? I don't. There's nothing horrifying about Mortal Kombat in general. I mean, you're dealing with all kinds of creatures, so I don't think that's possible. So you saw the latest live-action duel with Yugi and Solomon? Wait, was it Yugi and his grandpa, or was it Atem and his grandpa? I didn't know they did another live action, but I'll definitely check that out immediately when I'm done with this stream. I love watching those. Hey, what's up, Rain? How you doing? I hope you're making great content. Hello, Vamp. Welcome to the stream. I heard season 4 was having something stuff, so it was like woke stuff. I mean, I don't know. I heard similar things, but like, just after season 3, it just. I mean, I could tell it was kind of politically driven. I mean, that was obvious from season 1, but like, it kind of gradually kept getting more and more obvious as the seasons went on. So like, by the end of season 3, I was just like, I'm not that interested in season 4. And then from what I'd heard, it was like, oh yeah, it got way, way worse. Like, apparently, like, I heard rumors like Frenchie's gay now, which I don't remember that ever even being hinted at over the prior 3 seasons, and they did all kinds of extra stuff. Again, I didn't watch it. I just, like, I saw a little bit of the first episode, and then I checked out, so, you know. Yugi and his grandfather, okay. Okay, I'll check that out. Wait, tell me this much. Tell me this much, Zach. Are they doing goats, or are they using like Xyz and synchros? Because I know the last Yugi and Kaiba, they were actually using synchros and Xyz. So, or is this like a more traditional duel? I'm curious. Mortal Kombat of bones aren't broken like glass sometimes got wrong. Would I watch a Superman movie? I've seen all the Superman films, so I already have. What's up, Sean? How you doing? So you heard about Evo this year? Another American has become champion. I didn't watch Evo. I know Evo might have been here, but I was in California, so I don't watch Evo. That's a fighting game tournament. So and like, I don't play fighting games or watch them competitively because they're not that interesting. I just worry about me. So, as you imagine making a character like Homelander woke, I know nothing about that. I just heard little things, but again, I generally don't really know what happened over season 4, and I had no real plans on watching it anyway. So. Live action Halo series has ended. Thoughts? I didn't watch it. All I knew was they had Master Chief take his helmet off, and once you did that, that's it. I mean, and I'm not a Halo fan, but even as a PlayStation person, I know that that's like an unbroken rule. Like, I think the only time it might be okay for Master Chief to take off his helmet and for us to see what he actually looks like if it was at the end of the absolute final Halo game, meaning that they're planning to reboot it in a whole new storyline. I think if they did that, if they said, I don't know who owns Halo, but if they said that this next Halo game is going to be the absolute last in the storyline that had been started since the first Halo game back on the first Xbox, if they announced that, then seeing Master Chief without his helmet would be expected. But since it's not, then that's a done deal. I mean, technically, you have seen him unmasked, but like as a teenager or a small kid, but not as an adult. You've seen like close-ups, but. Out of all the members of the 7, which one was my favorite? I don't know. I guess Black Noir, but like he's dead. So I think they got some new guy. I don't know. I don't know. He just seemed cool. Reminded me like a version of Batman, but I think that's what they were going for. Sean, you got a new On Cloud shoes yesterday, and they're amazing coating. Oh, that's awesome, man. I'm thinking about getting some new shoes too. I recently found out they had. I recently found that Adidas had actually released PlayStation shoes of their own, so I was thinking about getting a pair online. What if I lived in the world of Tomb Raider? I mean, I wouldn't go on any tombs. I would just stay at home. So I'm not going on. I want to go on any adventures. Would you play Mortal Kombat if it was set in ancient times? You need to define ancient times. Like, you gotta remember, there are several characters that are thousands of years old. And just the Adenians, like Sidel and Katana and Melina, they're like 10,000 years old. So you need to be a little bit specific, like ancient times. Like, what are we talking about here? Okay. More traditional. I use fusions. Okay. That's kind of like that's like style I prefer. I'll check it out. The Halo franchise does need a serious reboot. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be. I mean, I look at it something like God of War, where like God of War 4 is kind of like a reboot and a sequel at the same time. So, yeah. Master Chief is the best left with us not knowing what he looks like. Like, I'm not saying he has to. I'm simply saying that if they ever decided to end the current storyline and announce that the next game after would be like a complete, like, start over reboot, then I'm saying I think most people would be okay with Master Chief taking his helmet off. I think most people would be okay with that if they're like, this is how it ends. And it would have to be like literally at the very end. Yes, Doomslayer takes his helmet off in Doom Eternal and everyone's okay with that. It's like, yeah, that's true, but here's the thing. You know what he looks like. If you play Doom, you see his face. So you know what Doomslayer looks like. Though, I mean, that was never a thing to not know what he looked like. Doomslayer's a little different. Which setting do I think is better, Wild Wild West or ancient Japan? Oh, definitely Japan. Not even close. Not even close. Wild Wild West is nice, but Japan, it's got culture. It's got delicacy. It's got discipline and honor. Wild Wild West is strictly cutthroat. I totally recommend you get On Cloud, specifically On Cloud 5 waterproof. I'll look into that, Sean. I totally, let's see, Zach, still wondering what Yugi and Atem could do in the Fortune Cup between. No, I don't know. Yugi's deck isn't really built for synchros. I know. As someone who runs a Dark Magician deck, there are a few synchros that are, but they're not themed. That deck is definitely more tuned for Xyz than synchros. Plus, I don't think Yugi riding on a motorcycle is all that appealing. I still don't quite understand that concept. What am I munching on? Oh, sorry. Oh, just some noun laters. Just some noun laters. Do you think Kratos from Ragnarok would kick Doomslayer's ass in a fight? Here's the problem with that concept. You're dealing with technically a god taking on someone who uses guns. So the question is Kratos even killable by mortals? That's so confusing because technically in their world, mortals can't kill gods. And technically Kratos is still a god, so only other immortals could possibly do that, or magical creatures. But then Doomslayer's got his whole mythology, so that's kind of conflicting. I don't really know how to answer that, if I'm being fair. I really don't. What are my expectations for Doom Dark Ages? I easily think, if everything goes right, it's a Game of the Year contender. Like, when they announce the collector's edition, I'll absolutely get it, but like Doom and Doom Eternal have been consistently easily one of the best first-person shooter games I've played over the last 10 years. It probably might even end up being my most anticipated game of next year. Like, right now, that game is already better than anything I've played this year, or might play this year, because there's only like one game left on my radar, and that's Assassin's Creed. Which, they released like some sort of press thing, and I thought it was funny, because I read it, because I was just like, I can't believe people are this upset over something that I think is so small. But going back to next game, yeah, those are my expectations. I expect it already looked better than Doom Eternal. So giving it those expectations, it probably could, because I do think Doom Eternal is better than Doom. So it's a fair assumption that with as much time as they've had, they could easily make a game that's better than Doom Eternal. I think that is very, very strongly possible. What would I say? Would I say X-Men Days of Futures Past is similar to Terminator 2? Kind of. I mean, the only yes and no, only because you're sending someone back in time to prevent them from being killed, not necessarily to stop Judgment Day in Terminator 2, because it still ended up happening. And it had to happen in order for you to send someone back in order to create a cycle. With Days of Futures Past, they're trying to create an entirely new future, but it's not necessarily time travel. They're simply sending Logan to his younger body and trying to prevent something from happening in order to create an alternate future, because they're about to be killed in their present future. So I would say mostly no. Terminator 2 and X-Men, a few Days of Future Past, are not really similar. They just use the concept of going back in time. But a lot of movies have done that. Like Back to the Future. You can say Back to the Future did exactly the same thing. Marty technically accidentally went back in time and then messed things up, and now he had to figure out a way to get his parents back together because he interfered with how they met in the first place. Would I prefer Doom? No. Yeah, I just answered it. Yeah, I would definitely pick Doom Eternal over 2016 any day. Easy. Would Days of Futures Past killing off John Connor still be as bad as it takes place after Genesis and not... No. Dark Fate... Here's the thing. Dark Fate made watching Terminator 2 pointless. Genesis at least attempted to do something different that I didn't think was all that bad. Because ostensibly what ended up happening was Genesis prevented Terminator 2 from existing in that timeline, while Dark Fate made watching Terminator 2 pointless. So that's really all you could say. But I would prefer what Genesis did than what Dark Fate did. I actually think Genesis is okay. Speaking of Terminator, any thoughts on the upcoming anime so far? It looks pretty good. And what's up, Caleb? How are you doing? Other ancient Japanese, what other things am I into? I'm into ancient Rome. And if you have Peacock, they just uploaded a new series. I think it's pretty good. It's like Thou Who Are About to Die. It's actually really good if you're curious. But yeah, I would say like ancient Rome would be second to feudal Japan. And then like Greek, so. Am I looking forward to Deadpool and Wolverine? I'm seeing it on Friday. I'm on the fence, but like I already pre-ordered it, so I'll be seeing that on Thursday. So I'll be seeing that tomorrow. Which weapon does Kratos have that can melt metal? I guess the Blades of Chaos could technically do that. Because Kratos can heat those up, so I say the Blades could probably do that. If I could control an animal or an insect species as an army, what would it be? Ants. Easily control ants. There are probably more ants on this planet than humans, and so to control ants, that would be something. What rating do I think I could give Shadows from Us I've seen so far? Right now, I'd give it like an 8. Just from what I've seen, I'd give it an 8. It could easily be a 9. I don't want to push 10 too hard, but yeah, just from everything I've seen, I could say if it's what I expect it to be, it's an 8. If it meets my expectations, it's a 9. And I stated this. For me personally, even though some people are like butthurt about certain characters, like it does have the potential of dethroning Assassin's Creed 4 in my eyes. It has that potential. It's possible. It's not, but it's got to have one hell of a story. X-Men Days of Futures Past is more similar to Chrono Trigger. Yeah, I can see that. What is the weirdest versus question I can remember getting off the top of my head? I think the weirdest one I ever got was what was it? Wasn't recently. This was a long time ago. It wasn't weird. It just, I didn't know how to break it down. It was like SpongeBob versus, I don't know. It was like some Cartoon Network character. And I thought that was weird because I was just like, you can't really do that. So, I can't remember who the other person was, but all I know is it involves SpongeBob. And I would have no way to break that down. Are you going to rank the Deadpool movies? No. I already did a ranking of all the X-Men films in the Marvel Fox films, so I don't need to do a ranking. If Dark Fate was a sequel to Genesis, I could understand them killing off John Connor. Well, technically John Connor died at the end of Genesis anyway, so and here's the thing. What's weird is that because Sarah and Kyle Reese went to the future, Sarah doesn't give birth to John Connor. So the future that they ended up going to didn't have John Connor. So the John Connor you see is technically from a past that doesn't exist anymore, which is questionable how he even exists anymore. It's kind of confusing. So technically, John Connor doesn't exist in the timeline that they created, and the John Connor who's from the original timeline is dead. So if you follow the Genesis timeline, there is no John Connor anymore, unless Kyle and Sarah get together and conceive John, but then Judgment Day wouldn't happen for a while. I heard you have a deck based on old God cards. Yeah, I have a God deck. It's in the back, it's in the closet. Have I heard the story of Chick-fil-A? No, I'm not. Oh, Jackie boy, I am not familiar with that tale. Thoughts on Final Fantasy 12? I thought it was okay, but it was kind of the beginning of my suspicion of things in Final Fantasy were heading downhill. Like, I only played Final Fantasy 12 once, and I just thought it was okay. Like, I beat it once, and then I just felt like I didn't need to play it again. Like, it was going in a direction that I wasn't a fan of. But I didn't think it was a bad game. It was just, it made me hesitant. Made me hesitant of, like, the next game. Like, the minute they announced that 13 was going to be on Xbox, I had a bad feeling about it. Because I was just like, well, Xbox doesn't really believe, number one, JRPGs don't do well on Xbox. And Microsoft didn't have an audience in Japan. And Final Fantasy is really big in Japan. So I was just kind of hesitant. And my fears ended up kind of coming true. Even though I didn't want to play it. I just had a bad feeling about it. Should I play Chrono Trigger? Absolutely, Jackie boy. If you can get an emulator and play Chrono Trigger, absolutely play it. Never got into Souls games. Neither have I, but like I've played a few that are like Souls-like in terms of gameplay style. Do you believe blasters are more powerful than modern guns? I think it depends on the blasters themselves. Because modern guns can do quite a lot of damage and have quite a bit of range. The Terminator timeline has become so confusing. Yes, I agree. It's time travel, if you don't do it right, can get very, very confusing. So is the Dark Magician stronger than Black Rose Dragon? No, you can't. Okay, here's the thing. If you're talking attack power, then the answer is no, because I think Black Rose is 2400 and Dark Magician is 2500. If you're talking about is Black Rose a stronger deck, I would say no, because a good Dark Magician deck could neutralize a lot of things that could even give Black Rose its advantages, and there's a lot of double layers of protection that would prevent Black Rose from being effective. Because you have to remember, what lowers it down is that you need tuners. So if you can keep the tuners off the field, then Black Rose can't come out. Plus, Black Rose is a lot harder to bring out on the field because of tuners than Dark Magician. There's like a lot of really fast ways to get a Dark Magician out. And the combination of mixing Eternal Souls and Dark Magic Circle allows you to banish stuff, which would make a lot of those cards useless. Plus, there's a number of field cards that could, act as floodgates that would lock your opponent out from even using support cards for the Black Rose. So, no, I would say deck for deck, you probably have a much better chance of building a stronger Dark Magician deck than a Black Rose deck. I mean, it's possible, but I'm saying you'd be better off. As an aspiring writer, never introduced time travel. It's the result of a headache. Yeah. J.K. Rowling learned that the hard way. With the time turners. It's like, wait a minute. If you got these time turners that can just go back in time, and then she had to destroy them in the 5th book. So she introduced the time turners in the 3rd book, and then immediately destroyed all of them in the 5th. So it's like, that way we can't bring the whole time travel thing into effect. Do I like The Witcher? Not really. I've never played the games. I thought the show was like okay, but like not good enough that I would want to play the games. What is the issue with Final Fantasy being on Xbox? The problem is that, okay, put it like this. Back during that generation, Xbox, as it was in its first incarnation, the Xbox has always been a shooter console. It was never meant to compete against Sony or Nintendo. It was trying to compete against PC. So if you go back to those first couple of Xboxes, their highest selling games were always shooters. Xbox, even to this day, is primarily a shooting console. It doesn't do fighting. It doesn't do racing, even though it has Forza. It doesn't do RPGs. It was very good at shooters. Even the controller was designed for shooters in mind. And at that time, I don't know how it is now, but Microsoft did not have an audience in Japan. And trust me, the two biggest markets when it comes to Final Fantasy is always going to be the United States and Japan. So what is the point of wanting... I mean, there's a lot of games that are like international, like they are released international, but they only have a PlayStation version in Japan. It's just JRPGs are really, really big in Japan. So why put a console in a region that doesn't have an audience and put it on a console that doesn't favor JRPGs? Now again, I don't know what the state of Xbox is in Japan, but I assure you, it probably hasn't changed all that much. I would be very surprised if there's an audience, a strong audience in Japan for Microsoft. Typically, it's going to be Sony or Nintendo. Those two have been dominating Japan for like 30 years. So I highly doubt that an American company could build a strong and profitable audience in a region like Japan. Very unlikely. Not saying it's impossible, but it hasn't happened as far as I'm concerned. Have I seen any recent Godzilla movies? No, I have not. G-Law, you hope to get another Wolfenstein. The last one was great. Okay, no, it was not. Youngblood was garbage. If you're talking about the sequel, yes. But Youngblood was awful. That was an awful game. That was easily one of the worst games I have played in a while. That's the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh! Power creeps make the game broken. I mean, some cards can't be destroyed by battle, spells, traps, legendary fisherman numbers. Dude, there's so many problems with Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. It's almost not even all that fun to play anymore. Thoughts on Chapter Black Arts in UC? I thought it was okay. Nothing special, but I just thought it was okay. Any thoughts on Joker sequel being a musical? Yeah, the fact that it's a musical is I'm not going to see it. I don't do musicals. I do not do musicals in any way. The only musicals I will watch are old school classic Disney movies. In animated form, not live action. So the minute I heard that Joker 2 was a musical, not going to watch it. Don't need to watch it. Joker didn't need a sequel. And I think that's the problem. Is like the Warner Brothers got greedy. Warner Brothers got greedy because that was easily one of the most profitable films. I mean, that movie made over $1 billion. I think that movie did better than Dark Knight on a budget that's like a third the cost. So the Joker was extremely profitable, and it won Oscars. So it's just like, oh, we see a potential franchise here. Let's make a sequel, even though it didn't need a sequel. So this is just Warner Brothers being greedy. They're making a sequel to a movie just for the sake of it. And I don't like movies made that way. Like, when you think back to, like, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. Not Dark Knight, Batman Begins. That was a self-contained movie. There were no plans on making that into a trilogy. There were no plans of that. Batman Begins, if you never saw The Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises, that would be perfectly fine. But Batman Begins is a self-containing movie with very little hints at a possible sequel with just the mention of Joker. Like, you could bring Joker, but heck, if they'd never made a sequel to Batman Begins, I would have been perfectly fine with that. But I don't feel that's the case with Joker. Joker, in my opinion, is a wonderful film on its own. Didn't need a sequel. Even if they made a sequel and said it wasn't a musical, I probably still wouldn't see it. Because they're just greedy. And I don't like greedy companies. No, Dark Magician is 27 and Black... What the... No, Dark Magician's 25. Dark Magician is not 27. Like, dude, trust me, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For 20 years. Dark Magician is not 25. It is not 27. Boom. A little hard to see, but it's a little hard to see. Man, these characters. Yeah, this is 25. Guaranteed. There's a... Yeah, I need to get a new webcam that can focus better. Trust me, it is 25. Black Rose is 24, like a Red Eyes. And dude, that's kind of here's how you know like when it comes to Akira, Jack Atlas, and Yusuke, they model their primary monsters on Joey, Kaiba, and Yugi. So typically, the main character has a monster at 25, the rival has a monster at 3,000, and the sidekick, who's Akira, Kiza, has a monster set at 24, like Red Eyes. That's how they model their synchro monsters or their archetypes. So I know it's 25. I have a friend who plays Yu-Gi-Oh competitively, even the most bullshit anime. Yeah, I feel bad for your friend. Mayboom, would you like to see a musical? No, not really. Vamp, Dirge of Cerberus is a Final Fantasy game for Xbox. No, it's not. It's on PlayStation. What are you talking about? They may have, yeah, I know. They may have released. I'm not saying they didn't release Final Fantasy games on Xbox. I'm simply saying they didn't do well. They didn't sell well on Xbox. I do know. There's certain Final Fantasy games I know for a fact they did not release them in Japan on Xbox because there was no audience. Sure, I think there may have been a version of Dirge of Cerberus, but like for the most part, that must have been a recent release because I don't remember Dirge of Cerberus being released on Xbox back in '06 when that game came out. That maybe they re-released it to make it available. Yeah, because they're doing that with a lot of Final Fantasy games. But I'm simply saying like they did not re-release a lot of these Final Fantasy games on Xbox. There just wasn't an audience. Final Fantasy, the first Final Fantasy that came on Xbox was Final Fantasy 13. That was the first time they had released a Final Fantasy game on Xbox. That was the very first, and that's when I knew it was bad because Xbox does not believe in quality games outside of shooters. They never have, and they still don't. They've tried and they've failed. Anything that wasn't a primary shooter has not done very well. That has always been Microsoft's mentality when it came to their games. I personally dislike Xbox aesthetic controller. It just feels weird to hold. Yeah, I'm telling you, that controller, the way it was designed for shooters. And there was a rumor that they said that the reason that Xbox is an American console is because the controller is meant for larger hands, because apparently Americans have larger hands, so PlayStation and Nintendo make smaller controllers because Japanese people have smaller hands. I'm telling you, that's what they said about the design of the controllers. That is why the controllers are designed their way. They say that Americans have bigger hands so they can hold a bigger controller. I didn't say that. Some developer said that. When comparing the controllers as for why they were designed, the size and the way they were. Okay, Jackie Boy, thanks for stopping by. Mayboom, if you were in Blade Runner, how would I live in it? I would live a quiet life out in the country. I would not live in the city. I would stay away from all the drama. Any thoughts on the Silent Hill 2 remake? No. I got no thoughts. I've never played Silent Hill. I've never been a fan of it. I don't care about no remake. I'm not a Silent Hill in the slightest. That is just not my type of game. You want another Shadow of War and Mordor? I haven't played either of those games, so if it's good, then maybe they'll do one, but I can't really comment on it. A Joker musical sounds like a stupid idea. Yeah, that's what I think too. Even played handheld devices, which one's my favorite? Wait, what do you mean? Ever played a handheld device, which is my favorite? Well, if you can't use the Switch because that's more of a hybrid. If we're talking pure handheld, I'd probably say my PS Vita. I would say like handheld, probably my Vita. Pure handheld, I would say. What movie do I think can't be watched on its own and you have to watch its sequel as well? I guess a solid example would probably be Pirates of the Caribbean 2. I think that's a movie you can't, you could watch Curse of the Black Pearl, but when you see the second one, you kind of have to see At World's End. That's a two-parter. So I think that's a movie that if you saw The second one, you have to watch the third one. Not necessarily the first one. The first one you could watch on its own and not see the sequels, but definitely the second one going into the third one. And definitely, I'd say like Harry Potter definitely follows part one and part two. If you see part one, you have to see part two. That it's just one big movie cut into two parts. Is from Evil Dead. Hmm. Uh, I, yeah, okay. I know Dirt to Service was on PlayStation. I meant if it was for Xbox as a joke because it's a shooter. Yeah, but that was like. But the thing is, that was an experiment. That was an experiment shooter, and it was an odd one. So, yeah, it wasn't really on Xbox. It was a joke. Okay. What are my thoughts on the two Blade Runner movies? I think they're okay. I only saw the second one once in theaters, so it was like it was okay, but it wasn't good enough for me to want to see it again. And I think Blade Runner, the original, was just an okay film. Nothing great, nothing crazy. Favorite Disney movies? Well, I did a whole list, so I'll just throw a few out there. Like movies like Aladdin, Toy Story, The Incredibles, Aladdin, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Lion King's in there. You know, just to name a few, not in any particular order. I already did a video doing that, going over my top 10 favorite Disney films. Could you see Xenomorphs or Terminator movie with a male protagonist? Huh? Okay, number one, Terminator has had plenty of male protagonists. Like, Terminator 2, the Terminator's the main character. Terminator 3, Arnold's the main character. Terminator Salvation, John Connor's the main character. Genesis, kind of Kyle Reese, kind of, I guess. But dude, they've had plenty that had a male protagonist, and all the Alien films have had male protagonists. They've had male characters who were protagonist characters. If you're talking about primary leads, you know, that's a little bit harder in terms of aliens, but I'm sure it's happened at least once. Rain, I know you probably talked about this already, but what are my thoughts on James Gunn's new DC film universe? I don't know much about it. I just know that they're currently filming a new Superman film. That's all I know. So maybe when it comes out I'll see it. I don't know. I'm kind of done with comic book movies right now. Like, I'm only seeing Deadpool and Wolverine because I'm curious, but like I don't get excited for like superhero films as much. Like, if I see them, it's probably because I'm bored and I got nothing to do that weekend. So, like, when it comes out, maybe I'll check it out, maybe I won't. But I don't feel like comic book movies nowadays are like must-see movies anymore. Am I against body implants? No, it's your body. You can do whatever you want with it. Why does Konami remake sequels without remaking the first game? First, like, what are they doing with MGS3 and Silent Hill 2? I don't know. Money. I do think that's surprising that they would want to remake 3 and not remake, like, the first Metal Gear games or start with Metal Gear 1. I would have expected that, but not 3. Have I... What? What the fuck? James, is that a serious question? Have I seen RoboCop movies? I grew up on RoboCop movies. What are you talking about? I've been seeing RoboCop since I was like 5. Like, I don't know. I actually had some awesome parents. Like, I saw all kinds of R-rated stuff when I was a kid, and I turned out all right. You kidding? Would I like to live... Oh, hell no. Would I like to live in RoboCop in Detroit or Gotham? Who the hell would want to live there? Absolutely not. Hey, boom. Not being sexist or anything, was just asking if... Okay, hang on. It'd be the same as asking about movies you could see switching the protagonist from male to female. You know, I've seen male characters get swapped out for females all the time. Gotta be honest, now that I think about it, I can't think of a time where they swapped out a female for a male character. I can't recall that's ever happened before. There is one franchise I'd be interested in seeing them do that with, but I don't know if that might be too controversial. I mean, technically 3 was the first in the timeline, right? Like, maybe. I don't know. That's hard to say. Daniel, wonder how Kojima feels about... He hasn't spoken about it. I have no idea what he feels like. He's not talked about it. I spoke to a lot of people about while I was at MGS Con, and we all agreed that now that David Hayter showed up at the last one because he couldn't go to MGS Con 1, we all said like the ultimate goal would be like if Kojima acknowledged that he was the father of Metal Gear. But it seems like whatever happened between him and Konami, like he wants like nothing to do about it. Even though so much of what he did in Death Stranding aesthetically was clearly from Metal Gear. So it's ironic that he wants to distance himself from his own creation, yet he's still taking elements of Metal Gear and incorporating them into his new games. We all thought that was weird, but like, yeah. And like apparently there's like serious beef between Kojima and David Hayter. Like apparently neither one would ever go to a convention if the other person was there. I did not know that it was that bad. I had heard why, but if you really look at the story, it made sense. I was okay with him not doing the voice for that character because you find out that's not actually his Snake. And so, but it was a whole thing. I spoke to a number of people about that. Do you prefer realistic or stylized gameplay itself? Stylized. Any movie or game you think is overrated? Movie or game? A bunch of games and movies I think are overrated. Kojima just living his best life making games and watching movies. If his Twitter is anything to go by. I mean, that's perfectly fine. Like, I'd always wanted to see him do something out of Metal Gear. And he's doing it now. And it's not perfect, but it's his. It's pure his. And that's perfectly fine. If they ever swap a female character with a male, it will be considered sexist. You would think that, but it's never been done. Like I'll tell you this much. As crazy as it sounds, I would be very interested if they did a rebooted Tomb Raider game and swapped out Lara for a male character. And here's why I'm okay with that. Because the term Tomb Raider is not Lara's name. That's like a title for a person who raids tombs. Which means the name Tomb Raider could be applied to virtually anybody. Just like if... so Tomb Raider is not Lara Croft. People can say, oh, she's the Tomb Raider. But you could say she's a Tomb Raider. So adding a male character isn't such a bad thing. And I hate saying this because it goes back to an older game, but apparently there was a Tomb Raider game called like Angel of Darkness that allowed you to play as a male character. So like half the game was hers and half the game was this guy character. And you know, so the potential for that to happen is there. And you could do that with almost any franchise and I don't think it would be all that bad. If I ever, but if they swap males with females, it's not a problem. Yeah, I know. What's my favorite Zack Snyder movie? Probably 300. You know, 300. Did I see The Rock? Yes, with Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage and Ed Harris. And it's on Alcatraz. And they have these poisonous gas bombs, rockets, and they're threatening to hit San Francisco. Yeah, that's a classic. You know, there's some people who claim that you could easily say that's a James Bond film. I 100% say you could. You could say that as a James Bond film because Sean Connery is so good in that film. That's that's easily my favorite film he did outside of James Bond. Easily. Male Lar is basically Nathan Drake. Yeah, you could say that, kind of. Except Nathan Drake's a little bit more clumsy than Lar. I would like to see a Metal Gear reboot with a female protagonist. You know what? I wouldn't have a problem with that. A complete reboot with a female protagonist, I think it could work. Nope, I would have no problem with that. I would be open if Konami completely rebooted Metal Gear and it was so vastly different there was like no Kojima. Like it was its own direction. It had nothing associated with Kojima's work. I would be curious in that. I don't like them taking Kojima's work and trying to remake it. I would more be interested in what they would prefer to do with their own direction with the Metal Gear property. Like if Disney had stopped, like I would be open to give Disney a chance if they didn't make anything that connected to George Lucas's work and they just made their own interpretation of Star Wars. That's something I could understand because you're making your own rules that are not associated with George Lucas's rules. And I think that's why a lot of us are upset. Like if Disney had just said that we're making a clean slate, we're making our own movies not associated with George Lucas's work, we want to take the concept of Star Wars and do our own thing. I think if they had done that, I think a lot more people would be open for that, regardless of what they're doing. Because we can say, okay, this is not George Lucas's Star Wars, this is Disney's Star Wars, and it's its own separate thing. And we can enjoy George Lucas's version of it and Disney's version of it. But when they're trying to mix it and then override George Lucas's work, that's where we have a problem. What do I think of Watchmen? Well, I like the director's cut of that a lot better than the theatrical version, but yeah, Watchmen's really cool. Resident Evil does female characters very well. I would love to see Metal Gear do the same. Well, to be fair, Metal Gear also has some pretty cool female characters too, so, you know, they are there. Just a funny question. If nothing happened after Ghostbusters 2, could Ghostbusters go from a group to an army, even grow all over the world? Yeah, probably. Like, if it got to the point where there were ghosts that were popping up internationally around the world, obviously the team that's, you know, located, headquartered in New York, obviously they can't be going around the world. That's a little bit too much. So they would probably try to build international teams. That would be something worth seeing. And you could have all these different teams that are busting ghosts. I would think that would be an amazing idea. Okay, and it looks like we're all caught up on questions. So, wow. And we have 11 minutes. Dang, that went by really fast. So if you got any more questions in these last 11 minutes, I'd get them out now. Am I going to do a mystery stream? Probably not. I think I'll try doing mystery streams next week. This time I'm just glad to be back from my trip, so I'll take it easy today. And then I need to do some brainstorming for some more ideas next week because I want to try to get at least 3 more videos out between now and the next live stream. Favorite version of Batman and Joker dynamic outside of the comics? Probably the animated series. If we're talking about dynamic between two characters, yeah, you can't top the animated series. Easy. Video ideas. Top 10 animal video game characters. Animal video game characters? I'll think about that. That's an unusual one. Top 10 animal characters. Would you shut down all categories of porn but keep lesbian? No, because there are other people that have other interests. I'm interested in a lot more than just that. No, I wouldn't. Have you ever been to a concert? technically, no. I thought I would be going to like a concert at MGS Con because they had like two live performances. So I thought like, oh, that's kind of like a concert. Like it really wasn't. It was not what I thought it would be. It was considerably smaller and not what I was expecting. It was nice, but it was not what I thought it would be. Yeah. But I guess technically no, I've never actually been to a concert. There have been a few concerts we've had here in Vegas that I really wanted to go, but I ended up missing them. Top 10 guns in shooting games. Yeah, that's an unusual one too. Top 10 Persona characters. Yeah, that's tough. Have I listened to any new music? Not really. Not really. I don't really listen to new music. It doesn't happen very often. Like maybe I'll find like a new song that I'll like, but it typically ends up being a song that's like several years old. So it's a new song for me, but it's an old song for everyone else. I stick to like what I usually like. What's the weirdest thing to happen in a con you've been to? Not really weird, but I'll be honest, I can't think of anything weird that happened. I could think of like a few issues, but it wasn't weird. It was like there's certain things that if it happens at a con, it's not surprising. Like them shutting down a table early or shutting down a signing early or extensive long lines or security not showing up. Like stuff like that's happened at multiple cons I've been to, but that isn't exactly weird. That's something that happened. It doesn't happen to every con, but it does happen. What are my thoughts on OnlyFans? Hey, people on them. Heck, there are far worse ways to make money. And if those people who have OnlyFans want to make money that way, that's perfectly fine. I have no issue with people that do OnlyFans. No issue whatsoever. Would you haunt pure evil people's dreams? Yeah, no, that I'm not filled with that kind of mindset. So you think Big Boss would be capable in Mass Effect compared to other franchises? No. I don't think Big Boss would do very well in Mass Effect. Have I ever cosplayed or dressed up as a character? Yes, I have. I think I tried dressing up as Sora once, but then I thought about it and I thought the idea of a black Sora was stupid, so I immediately burned the costume. I still have the Keyblade. Like I still have that. So I got a new souvenir. The only new music I listen to is from older artists. Yeah, I'm the same way. If you're part of a gang that would rob a bank, would I go in or out? No, I wouldn't rob a bank. I wouldn't join any crew that robs people. Who is a character you could just chill with all for a day? Garrus, Mass Effect. I could cheer with him at the bar all day. That would be easy. Doesn't your friend Rachel do OnlyFans? Yes, she does. But she doesn't. Here's the thing. It's not very. She doesn't show anything. Like realistically, and I'll be honest, like it's just teasing. That's all she does. She has never once uploaded a revealing picture of herself. It has not happened in years, and I don't think it's ever gonna happen. But yeah, I mean, but that's a kind of a private conversation. I have my own thoughts about what's going on, but that's a conversation I don't want to have here. Pixel Gun 3D is a complete wow, that's a nice information to know, Penguin. Vampire. I tried cosplaying as Jason once. I could see that being pretty simple and easy to pull off. TB and Raiden, who's cooler? Raiden. Do you empathize with Jigsaw from what you saw on any level? In some movies, I empathize. I'm empathetic to him. In some movies, more than others. Others, not so much. Sorry if it was a little personal. No, not personal. That's what this is for. It's just I don't like having conversations about people I care about when I don't necessarily have all the facts. And even if I did have all the facts, if it's like personal information, then I won't talk about it. But like, you know, Rachel's been doing an OnlyFans for years, but like she doesn't do revealing pictures. And I've told her not to do that. Like she's told me for years that she won't go that far. And I've said, yeah, you shouldn't have to go that far. And she hasn't. So I'm proud of her for that. So Ty from Yu-Gi-Oh probably wouldn't be able to win any duels. Maybe. It's not impossible. Anyone could win anything. It's possible. Do you prefer realistic or sympathetic or cartoonish evil characters? Realistic. All the way. Realistic. Because they're believable. And they remind us of people that in our own world that can exist. And that is a scary thought. And we got 3 more minutes left. She responded. One Halloween, I dressed up as a military version of Ghostface. Wow, that's gotta be. Wow, I can actually picture that. That's actually pretty cool. I mean, Wesker was nuts. Same with. Yes, Wesker was indeed crazy, but he did have a superiority complex. So, could you really blame him? I took a picture of Michael Myers when I was cosplaying as Jason. Oh, that's pretty cool. It was because I could only afford mask and knives. Hey, dude. Hey, be resourceful. Sometimes you don't have to go all the way for any type of costume or cosplay. Sometimes you can be, because if you can make something good out of minimum things, that just means you're very, very resourceful. And that requires creativity, which means you must be a pretty creativity and resourceful person. And those are very useful skills to use as an adult. His cosplay was a hell of a lot better than mine. Well, you know, he had probably more money, and he was probably older, so you know, don't feel too bad. You dressed as Captain America in Blue Jungle Fury. Really, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, I did a Power Ranger for a few years when I was younger. We found the white stuff. The white. That's funny. Okay, well, I'm gonna call it a day there. This was fun. I will be sure to do a mystery stream next week after the next stream. So, remember, if you guys have any ideas for videos, just either send them to me, type them in a comment of any of my videos, or put them in the community tab. And if it's a really good one, then I'll start working on them. But yeah, I primarily just want to spend the rest of the day just brainstorming on what I want to do a ranking or a review for or a reaction to or a discussion video if something serious happens. But yeah, so I want to thank all of you guys for stopping by, and I will catch all you guys next week.